Hey everybody, it's Griffin, Pat, and Nick here for Polygon, and we just witnessed the most powerful console ever.
Ever. Past, present, and future.
No one will ever make a more powerful console. I know there's the law about how computers get more sophisticated, they double every year. No, this is it. The
thing that I
pinnacle.
really loved was Phil Spencer's commitment when he came out there and he said, if somebody tries to make a more powerful console, I will kill him.
He said he'll kill him, yeah. And I believed him. So we're talking about the Xbox One X, which is the name of Project Scorpio.
Yeah.
Their newer, better, faster, stronger Xbox One, which is what they opened up their press conference with today. And we could pretend to go into the details of the hardware, but I do not remember.
I can tell you all about it. Ask me any.
How many flops?
17 teraflop transistors. Trillion transistors.
Whoa!
Of them, and megabytes.
And they fit all of them in the console, or are they
all
outside?
They put so many in, it got smaller, Griffin.
Frick!
It's the smallest Xbox ever. That was surprising to me, legitimately, because everything I had heard about the Scorpio and the dev kits was that they were just these enormous, like, VCRs, and the idea that it's smaller than the 1S is like...
And he said apparently also it vapes, which I'm very, very into.
There is a vapor rig in there.
It's got the vape chamber, I think it's called.
Yeah, bottom line is that it runs games in 4K with smoother textures and faster load times and more consistent frame rates. I guess that is the sort of sales pitch for the Xbox One X. Kind of a confusing name, I feel like, since there's an Xbox One S. So like,
phonetically, it's
phonetically
got a lot in
over the
common.
phone, I feel like there's going to be some miscommunication.
You're telling your grandma what you want.
I've thought that you said the wrong thing several times.
No, we're good so far, I think.
Yeah.
But they also announced the price at the end of the press conference. It's going to be $499, which is, I think, a little bit steep. The PS4 Pro is $399 at the moment, and has sort of a similar sales pitch, although the Xbox One X, I think, has some beefier chips inside of it.
I think that difference, like, you and I are cognizant of that, but I don't know that, like, the average consumer is going to when they look at their, like, flyer this Christmas for Zales. Zales doesn't sell video game systems, do they?
No, Zales doesn't do games anymore.
Okay.
They used to be the premier outlet for it.
When you're looking at your Sears flyer, it says that the PS4 Pro is $290. No, they dropped it by 50, right?
No, it's $390. In any case.
In any case, there's like a big price difference now between those two, and it's hard to translate that value proposition, I think, to the layperson.
I don't know if I was sold on it, but I will say the rest of the press conference was basically them going all in on showing like what the console can do, and they did so by showing off 42 games, 22 of which are quote-unquote exclusives, which also covers like console launch exclusives, which could mean like they'll go to other places later on, although obviously all the first-party stuff is going to be on the Xbox One. Obviously your games will work across the whole Xbox One family
including Windows 10.
Products, including Windows 10. A lot of the games are play anywhere. And what I will say is, like, I'm not exactly sold on the Xbox One X, but the rest of the press conference was pretty good. Like,
it was tight.
There was a lot of good stuff that they showed off.
They had the quantity there. There aren't, like, it was weird because looking over, I've had that same impression coming out of it, and then I looked over the list of everything, and there weren't like any one game that jumped out at me as like, oh, I'm gonna die if I don't play this, except for Anthem looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we should, I guess, talk about the games then, right?
Yeah. So we could start with Anthem, which is how they ended the presentation with this. Hey, it's gonna be $500, but check out Anthem. This was the premiere of Anthem. Obviously, during EA's press conference, they showed like 30 seconds of it, and that didn't really do it for me. But this did it for me. The thing I saw, the main reaction was like, oh, BioWare's doing a Destiny.
Yes.
Which I don't know if is entirely fair. It is sort of a multiplayer kind of shoot and loot action RPG.
Yeah.
There was a moment where one of the players killed a big enemy and they dropped this big golden diamond that turned into a neat gun. All of which was like very shoot and loot. Like I'm into that, and I think BioWare could do a good job by that. It also looked really slick, and there was a lot of flying around with jetpack action.
Flying underwater with jetpacks.
Yeah, it looked really neat. It looked like something I could sink my teeth into.
The locomotion-y stuff was the most exciting part of that to me. The piece of the puzzle that I want them to get right, the last BioWare. I mean, this is like BioWare Edmonton, right? This is the next game from the people who brought us the first 3 Mass Effects. I would like to see more of the story half of this.
Sure.
That's the part that I'm like, that's the big question mark for me still.
I wouldn't be surprised, though, if it's like a pretty huge departure from anything they've done. Like, this doesn't look... I saw a lot of people saying, like, oh, this is what Mass Effect should be. I don't think this looks anything like Mass Effect.
Yeah, but I was getting... I mean, it's sci-fi, right? But that's kind of the end of the comparison.
That's it, yeah.
The opening shot of that first-person thing in that trailer we saw gave me very, very strong, immediate, like, Firefly vibes more than anything else, but not, like, not like the Star Trek adjacent sci-fi.
Yeah,
Mass
and there was
Effect.
also some Titanfall stuff in there. You're in this big exosuit they call javelins that you can customize out to like match your play style.
I think they said there are 3 distinct classes of them
Yeah,
that you can choose from.
It looks neat. It looks like that's like Destiny-like games, I guess, are sort of like they've been my jam for a while now, and I'm excited for BioWare to like really have an earnest like shot at making one.
Yeah.
So how do you feel like they will do at delivering that kind of game experience though? Because a lot of, I mean, so far their catalog is a lot of really sort of story-oriented RPG type stuff, but then mechanically it never really quite feels exactly.
The only thing that I think sells it for me is I really liked Mass Effect 3's multiplayer mode. Like I don't think that many people played it, but there was some really cool stuff going on in there, and I'm wondering if you'll be able to see like the path that led them from there to there. We shouldn't spend too much time talking about Anthem though, because it's not an Xbox One exclusive game.
No, they just happen to show it here.
They just happen to show it, yeah.
Another game that's not exclusive that they showed for the first time here is Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, Assassin's Creed Origins. It's set in ancient Egypt. I don't know, like the setting, and I mean it all looks like Assassin's Creed slick. The thing that most stuck out to me is like, again, I guess another sort of comparison to Anthem here is like it looked really RPG heavy, more so that like obviously there's been an RPG undercurrent in all the Assassin's Creed games of like getting new gear, but there was like killing a guy for experience points and leveling up and unlocking a new thing and then killing a guard and getting a golden legendary bow. Like
that was
whoa,
the thing
okay.
And that to me is actually potentially interesting because I think I'm not alone in that. I've ignored the loot stuff in Assassin's Creed for the most part. I kind of just pick like a scythe and stick with that scythe. But if I could clearly delineate at a glance, like, oh, this weapon is rare and valuable and better than my other stuff.
And we were seeing leveled enemies too.
Right.
So for the first time in an Assassin's Creed game, actually walking by a group of enemies and seeing, oh, I probably can't handle them where I'm at.
Yeah, and Pat, you made an interesting point about the behind the back nature of the combat looking a little slightly more Soulsian.
Less Assassin's Creed, more like For Honor-esque.
Yeah, like
For
parrying
Honor,
and stuff.
The camera's down, it's lower behind your back. It's not that same Batman Arkham Asylum feel where you're taking people from all sides.
So just to move through like the other like big third-party games, because I really do want to talk about like what the Xbox is going to specifically bring to the table. They showed off the sequel to Shadows of Mordor, which looks really, really cool. They went through this big orc encampment and recruited a bunch of folks to build an army to siege a tower. Looks neat, but again, not a console exclusive. PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds is going to appear on Xbox One, and I guess Xbox One S this year, and then early next year it's coming to Xbox One X in its like new and improved form, which I'm like super excited about.
Yeah, you made the point, Griffin, while we were watching that like the player pool, when everyone's limited to a controller,
and a consistent gameplay experience because there's not as much like fluctuation between my PC quality sucks and mine is awesome.
People aren't turning their graphics down to low to get an advantage anymore. That's also not exclusive.
Yeah, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds is not. It's launch exclusive.
Console launch exclusive.
We don't have any details about when it's coming to PlayStation 4 or Switch. What if though?
God, imagine.
We also saw for the first time a sequel to the Metro series called Metro Exodus, which looked really neat.
Yeah.
There was a lot of sort of like hunting these big nasty monsters outdoors. And outdoors doesn't seem like a deadly apocalypse hellscape as much as it has. You take off the mask when you go outside.
That demo, I think, was probably the most canned-looking demo.
A little bit,
like such an E3 demo.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of that first BioShock Infinite demo, where it's just everything is so clearly hand.
You open a door and a bunch of doves fly out. And it's like doves are going to be there every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about the first-party games that are only going to be on Xbox. I've been looking forward to Sea of Thieves for a while. I got to play it for the first time at E3 last year, and it's really fun. But the only cross-section we've seen is this like co-op ship piloting stuff of just like, oh, man the sails and you get on the cannons, and like that stuff's really cool and it's really fun. But I wanted to know like what else am I going to be doing while I'm playing? And this was pretty much entirely that. There was footage of these 4 pirates on a team like exploring an island and following a map and solving clues to like dig up a treasure and then carrying that treasure back to the ship and swimming away from sharks and getting a big ship-to-ship fight. Like it was it showed the whole loop, I feel like, for the first time.
Yes.
And it looked really hot. My only complaint is that the combat, like with not the ship-to-ship combat, but like shooting a skeleton with
gun
guns.
combat.
There's a lot of walking up to a skeleton at point-blank range and just
shooting it with a gun. It didn't look good.
No. It looked like unsophisticated.
And
yeah.
Then,
how I describe it.
The combat on the ship itself was fairly the bit between when he boarded at one point.
How he boarded it is the best shit ever.
Very
where
cool.
they loaded him into a cannon and literally shot him onto the other. Like that. That's the stuff that looks really great, and I think it'll be really great.
Though, it was like
then it's like bang, bang.
Yeah,
I got you.
Yeah.
I don't know why this stood out to me, but when they finally found the buried treasure and multiple players were slamming their shovels against it to dig faster, I was like, oh, that's a cute. And the whole thing was full of these moments of like kind of semi-forced co-op of like the character who's lugging the treasure chest can't fight skeletons. So even if the combat's not super deep, the fact that your friends are forced to defend you while you're lugging this chest, it's like that's cool.
There's
and
also
little touches like the
best touch was the banana that he took to eat and get health back that he just ate stem first, fully unpeeled.
That's I would assume that's the bitterest, worst part of the banana.
It's the worst part of it. It's the part that you just got to power through to enjoy the rest of the banana
I guess
peel.
So. Do you want the good news first or the bad news
right,
first?
It's all bad news. We also saw Forza Motorsport 7 for the first time, but there's a lot of stuff where they have a big car and they're like, look at this cool car, don't you want to have sex with it or whatever? And I was like, no.
Not that much. The Xbox Originals initiative, where like actual OG Xbox games are going to be, they said some, the phrase they used was some of your favorite original Xbox games.
They specifically pointed out Crimson Skies, which like, hell yeah, I didn't know how bad I wanted to play Crimson Skies until I saw it running.
So this time around, this is, I'm guessing this will be exclusively digital sale, unless you're going to pop an original Xbox disc in there. Like
probably just digital sales,
Yeah, I would imagine.
Other first-party games we saw, a sequel to Ori and the Blind Forest, called
gorgeous.
Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Yeah, there was like a 15-minute chunk that was just gorgeous 2D stuff between the ID at Xbox block and
so
Ori.
The ID at Xbox block was, again, most of those I don't think are going to be exclusives.
Very cool
another first-party game, State of Decay 2, looks really cool.
I think I'm not alone in having never played State of Decay.
I played the original State of Decay like just a little bit, but I know there's people who like adore it.
Totally.
And I think this one looks like really neat. Like the colony building stuff looks really cool, and I want to see like what the co-op looks like in this game.
Yeah, it's co-op
because I think
right?
that could be pretty hot. Is there any other first-party games that they?
You know what's? I mean, I think the absence of like Halo and Gears of War is if memory serves, this is the first time we haven't even gotten the teeniest little
bit
morsel of no, not even a Halo
coming
Wars
in 2021. Finish the fight more.
Yeah, usually there's at least like a Windows Phone game. There's some shit, but this time there was just no Halo, no Gears, and I thought that was striking.
So there was other first-party stuff like they're bringing Lucky's Tale, Super Lucky's Tale.
Lucky's
That's
Tale.
really weird. That was an Oculus, and I don't know if it got ported to other VR platforms, but it was an Oculus like platform that you like looked into the world. And I don't remember it being great, but it was like neat and novel that you could look down on it in this virtual. So like
it was a pack-in, right?
it did.
What is it?
What is it? Yeah.
It is a weird thing, and it also brought in a stark relief for me the fact that when they first talked about Scorpio, they talked about it having full VR support built in, and there were partners
I
at
thought
Oculus
for sure
and
they'd be like, and by the way, strap this dumb thing on your face.
Yeah, but not a. I actually, when I saw the little Lucky dude running around on the screens, I was like, oh, this is where the VR segment comes in, and then it just fully did not happen.
One game that I was kind of disappointed in terms of first-party games was Crackdown 3. I didn't like that much.
Yeah.
There was some cool stuff of like. I saw somebody pick up an agility orb,
and
that like activated some sort of weird pleasure center in my brain.
I had this thought of like, when I watched you freak out about that, I had this whole discussion in my head with myself of like, are agility orbs actually good, or is it a pure dopamine activation?
Sure, but the rest of it looks kind of.
It looks
ugly.
messy.
It looks messy, and I didn't see any like big like destruction like buildings
They
coming
didn't
down.
show any of this when they first showed it a couple years ago. They were talking a lot about cloud computing. We're gonna fuck up buildings in really cool ways. They didn't show.
They didn't show any of that.
Maybe, I mean, I'm assuming we get to play that tomorrow, so I'm going to reserve judgment. But I don't know that I'm getting an Xbox One X. Is basically what I'm saying. Pat, are you sold?
I don't know. I don't have any money. Do I look like I have money?
So that's it from us for the Xbox E3 2017 press conference. Obviously, this is the very first real big publisher press conference thing of E3. We've got a lot more to come, so stay tuned. We've got stuff tomorrow. We've got hands-on impressions coming, all sorts of gameplay stuff, just really run-of-the-mill traditional hands-on video game E3 coverage for you to enjoy. So stay tuned, and remember to subscribe, and you can tune in to our YouTube channel or Polygon.com. We're also available on Apple News. You can subscribe on iTunes, I think, or Stitcher, and you can.
We've got a great Facebook page you can check out there. We're doing posts daily on there.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
It's so bad.